You've been in that room before. The one where your idea died in your throat while someone else's mediocre version got a standing ovation. You had the answer crystallizing in real time. 30 seconds of pure clarity where you knew you were dead right. But then your brain snapped and started doing that thing it always does. It hit the emergency brake. Started giving you history lessons on every time you've been wrong before. Questioned your credentials. Demanded proof that you even had the right to be valuable in this conversation. So you stayed quiet, ran the numbers, waited for the right moment. And then Donald from accounting opened his mouth. Suddenly, Donald is a genius, and he's the one they all remember. What I just described now for some of you has been the story of your entire life. You've spent years watching people with barely a quarter your smartness and ability walk through doors you're still banging on from the outside, politely waiting for an invitation that's never coming. They're not smarter. They're not better connected. They didn't crack some cosmic code you're missing. They just didn't stop to ask themselves if they deserved to be in the room. Marcus Aurelius ran Rome. The whole machinery of civilization was on his desk, and every single morning he woke up with the same whisper you hear. What if I'm not actually the guy for this? The difference? He looked that thought dead in the eye and said, "Doesn't matter, I'm already here." He didn't wait to feel worthy. He didn't collect more credentials. He didn't spend another year preparing. He just moved like the emperor he already was and let the empire sort itself out. That's what acting like the best actually means, not believing you're better than everyone, but refusing to audition for permission to exist at full capacity. Right now, someone less prepared than you just launched, someone with worse ideas just got funded, someone who has no business winning just snatched the prize. The only difference? They already decided the answer was yes. Before we go further, here's what I need from you right now. If you're watching this from the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, or literally anywhere else, drop your city in the comments. I want to see where this finds you. Because what we're building here isn't some motivational fairy dust you sprinkle on yourself before your morning latte. This is a complete rewiring of how you see yourself. And if you're still here after that, good, you're ready. Because truth number 3 is going to make you squirm in your seat. And truth number 5? Most people will rage quit this video before I finish it. Let's see if you're built differently. Not because you need to prove something to Donald from accounting, because you refuse to waste your one shot at existence. So let's get into the 5 truths. No hand-holding, no participation trophies for showing up. Just the raw, unfiltered philosophy that turned slaves into emperors. Truth 1. You don't need permission to be excellent. The first truth is brutal, and honestly, most people never recover from hearing it. You've been sitting in the waiting room of your own life, hoping someone will call your name, your parents, your boss, your partner. Some mystical authority figure who'll look you in the eye and say, "Okay, you can stop pretending to be small now. You're cleared for takeoff." Plot twist, that person doesn't exist, never did, never will. And even if they did exist, their opinion would matter about as much as a participation trophy from your 3rd grade. Seneca watched men waste entire lifetimes waiting for the right moment, waiting for the stars to align, waiting for someone to notice them and say, "Yes, you're the chosen one." And he watched them die, still waiting, still hoping, still absolutely nowhere. You know why some people walk into rooms and shift their entire energy without opening their mouths? It's not charisma, it's not confidence. It's the complete and total absence of hesitation. They've murdered the part of themselves that whispers, "Am I allowed to be here?" They held a funeral for it, buried it deep. Let me be crystal clear, this doesn't mean you storm around like a discount movie villain demanding respect. That's just desperation wearing a leather jacket. What it means is you stop performing. You stop auditioning for a role in your own life like you're some side character hoping for more screen time. You act as if you're the best because you've decided that mediocrity is a personal betrayal of what you could become. Not because anyone's watching, but because you have standards. Now here's what I want you to do. Comment one phrase, "I decide now." That's it. No explanation, no essay, just that word. You'll understand why later. The next point will have no mercy on your ego, so get ready to be slammed. Truth 2. Your inner dialogue is either building a king or burying a coward. This is where most people completely collapse, because it requires you to actually listen to that voice in your head and realize it's been gaslighting you for years. The Stoics were obsessed with this. Marcus Aurelius filled journals with reminders to himself, not Instagram affirmations with sunset backgrounds, not pretty quotes in cursive fonts, but direct, harsh corrections to his own thoughts. Stop listening to your own complaints. You're letting shadows terrify you like a child. Get up. The work doesn't care about your feelings. He wasn't being cruel. He was being honest, because he knew that if he let his mind run wild like an unsupervised toddler, it would invent problems that didn't exist and turn minor inconveniences into existential crises. Your internal dialogue is either your greatest weapon or your cruelest enemy. There's no Switzerland here, no neutral ground. Think about it. How many times today have you already told yourself you're not ready, not smart enough, not experienced enough, not worthy enough? If we actually counted, you'd probably need a spreadsheet. Now imagine you had a friend who talked to you the way you talk to yourself. You'd block them, you'd file a restraining order, you'd tell everyone at parties what a toxic person they are, but because it's your own voice, you mistake it for objective truth. Here's the shift. Start treating your thoughts like a subordinate giving you a report. Some reports are accurate, some are just noise generated by anxiety and too much coffee. Your job isn't to believe everything that crosses your mind. Your job is to assess, filter, and command. Epictetus trained himself to interrupt destructive thoughts the millisecond they appeared. Not suppress them like you're stuffing clothes into an overpacked suitcase, not pretend they weren't there, but confront them directly and ask, is this thought serving me or is it actively sabotaging me? Most of your mental suffering isn't coming from your actual circumstances. It's coming from the elaborate fictional narrative you're telling yourself about your circumstances. You're basically writing tragedy fan fiction about your own life. Change the story and you change the man. So here's your second action. Drop this in the comments. I control the narrative. Let that settle in your chest for a second, because once you actually own that truth, everything shifts. And trust me, you're going to need that shift for truth number 3, because it's the one that separates people who talk about greatness from people who actually live it. Truth 3. Comfort is a slow poison and you've been drinking it for years. This is the truth that genuinely pisses people off, because deep down they know it's accurate, and accuracy stings worse than any insult ever could. You've been choosing comfort over excellence every single day, and you've been calling it balance. You've been calling it self-care. You've been calling it being realistic. The Stoics called it what it actually is: slow death by 1,000 convenient choices. Marcus Aurelius could have spent his days drowning in luxury. He was the emperor. He could have had anything, literally anything. But he chose to sleep on hard floors. He chose to practice discomfort deliberately, like it was a sport. Not because he was secretly into suffering, but because he understood something most modern people have completely blanked out on. Comfort makes you weak, and weakness makes you a target. Not a target for others, a target for yourself. Because the weaker you become, the more you'll negotiate with your own potential, the more elaborate excuses you'll construct, the more you'll settle for a life that looks acceptable on paper but feels like suffocation in slow motion. Seneca practiced voluntary hardship like it was his hobby. He'd go days eating nothing but cheap bread that probably tasted like cardboard, sleeping in uncomfortable conditions, walking in the cold without adequate clothing. Why? To remind himself that the worst-case scenario wasn't actually that bad. to strip away the fear of losing comfort like you'd rip off a band-aid. Because once you stop fearing discomfort, you stop being controlled by it, and that's when you become dangerous. Here's what's happening right now in your life. Be honest. You're avoiding the hard conversation. You're skipping the difficult workout. You're choosing the easier path because it feels safer, like emotional bubble wrap. And every single time you do that, you're teaching yourself that you can't handle hard things. And then you have the audacity to wonder why you don't feel like the best, why you don't carry yourself with authority, why you shrink in moments that require you to be bigger. It's because you've been softening yourself for years and calling it wisdom. You've been choosing comfort and calling it self-awareness. You've been avoiding growth and calling it knowing your limits. The men who act as if they're the best don't avoid discomfort. They hunt it down. They walk into the fire on purpose because they know that's where transformation actually happens, not in your comfort zone with your weighted blanket and your favorite podcast. You want to know the real secret? Discomfort is the cover charge. Greatness doesn't live where you're comfortable. It lives in the exact place you've been avoiding, like it's got a restraining order. So here's your challenge. Comment the hardest thing you've been avoiding, the conversation, the decision, the change. Name it publicly, because once you name it, you've taken the first step toward confronting it instead of pretending it doesn't exist. And you'll need that courage for truth number 4, because it's going to ask you to do something most people will actively avoid. Before we continue, let me ask you something that matters. Are you actually applying this, or are you just collecting information like Pokemon cards? Because here's the problem with most self-improvement content. People consume it like it's entertainment. They nod along. They feel inspired for exactly 12 minutes. Then they close the app and go right back to the same patterns that weren't working yesterday. If you're serious about this, and I mean dead serious, prove it. Smash the like button as a signal to yourself that you're committed, that you're not just a tourist here, that you're actually building something, and subscribe, because what's coming next isn't surface-level philosophy you can forget by dinner. It's the architecture of transformation. Now let's keep moving. Truth 4. Your reputation is none of your business. This one's going to mess with your head, because you've spent your entire life carefully managing how people perceive you. You've curated your image like it's a museum exhibit. You've performed your personality. You've tailored your words to avoid judgment, edited your thoughts to avoid controversy, and basically exhausted yourself trying to be everyone's favorite version of you. The Stoics didn't care about reputation, not because they were reckless chaos agents, but because they understood something critical. Your reputation is other people's opinion, and other people's opinions are absolutely none of your damn business. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome, and half the Senate probably despised him. Epictetus taught philosophy, and plenty of people dismissed him because he was a former slave. Imagine that, letting someone's past enslavement disqualify their wisdom. Seneca advised emperors, and critics accused him of hypocrisy constantly. Did any of them stop? Did any of them shrink? Did any of them start performing for approval like they were auditioning for a reality show? No. They acted according to their principles and let the noise be noise, background static, irrelevant chatter. Here's what you need to understand. The second you start living for other people's approval, you stop living for yourself. You become a puppet. You perform instead of exist. And performance is absolutely exhausting, because you're constantly monitoring reactions like you're running a focus group, adjusting your behavior in real time, making sure everyone likes you, making sure no one's offended, making sure you're staying safely inside the lines everyone else drew. That's not acting like the best. That's acting like a hostage negotiating with kidnappers. The men who carry themselves with an unshakable presence don't care if you like them. They care if they're living with integrity. They care if they're acting according to their values. They care if they're becoming who they're meant to become. Your approval is completely irrelevant to that equation. It doesn't even factor in. Now, this doesn't mean you become an arrogant prick who disrespects everyone. It doesn't mean you're rude for sport. It means you stop twisting yourself into shapes to please people who aren't even paying attention, who will forget you existed by next Tuesday. Seneca wrote letters to his friend Lucilius for years, private letters. No audience, no performance, no monetization strategy, just pure, unfiltered truth. And those letters became some of the most powerful philosophical texts in human history. Why? Because he wasn't writing for applause. He wasn't chasing viral moments. He was writing for clarity. That's the energy you need to carry. Do the work. Live with principle. Let your reputation be whatever it's going to be, because honestly, you can't control it anyway. Because here's the cold, uncomfortable truth. People are going to misunderstand you no matter what you do. They're going to project their insecurities onto you like you're a movie screen. They're going to judge you based on incomplete information and assumptions they made in 3 seconds. You can't control that, and trying to control it is a complete waste of your finite time on this planet. So stop performing, stop auditioning, stop trying to convince people you're worth their approval, like you're campaigning for their vote. Act as if you're the best by refusing to be defined by anyone's opinion, including your own ego's need for external validation. Drop this in the comments. I am not my reputation. Let that sink in deep. Because once you actually internalize it, you're free in a way most people never experience. And you're going to need that freedom for truth number 5, because it's the hardest one to accept, and most people will reject it entirely. Truth 5, you're going to die, and that's why you need to act like the best right now. Let's end where the Stoics always ended, in cold jaws of death, not to be morbid, not to be dark for aesthetic purposes, but because death is the ultimate clarifier. It's the grand reality that cuts through every excuse, every delay, every procrastination. Most people live as if they have infinite time. They delay, they procrastinate, they say, I'll start next week, next month, next year, when things settle down, when I'm ready, when the conditions are perfect. And then they wake up at 50 realizing they never started anything. They waited their entire lives for a green light that never came. The Stoics didn't live that way. They lived as though every day could be their last, not out of fear or anxiety, but out of deep respect for the absolute brevity of existence. You want to act as if you're the best? Start acting as if your time is running out, because, spoiler alert, it is. The clock is ticking, right now, while you're reading this. Every second you spend in hesitation is a second you'll never get back. Every moment you waste waiting for permission, waiting for perfection, waiting for courage, is a moment permanently stolen from your potential. Seneca watched wealthy men hoard their money obsessively while spending their time recklessly like it was unlimited. He watched them protect their possessions while squandering their days on nonsense. And he wrote, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Think about that. You wouldn't let someone steal your wallet. You'd chase them down the street, but you let distractions steal your hours. You let fear steal your years. You let comfort steal your potential. That ends now. Acting as if you're the best means living with the full weight of mortality on your shoulders. Not as a burden that crushes you, but as fuel that propels you forward. Because when you truly realize your time is limited, you stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop accepting excuses, especially your own. You stop settling for a life that feels safe but empty, comfortable but meaningless. You start taking risks. You start speaking the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You start building something that actually matters. Epictetus used to tell his students, don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Because now is all you have. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And he was absolutely right. You don't get a practice run. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is your one shot, your one life. Your one chance to become who you're actually capable of becoming. So stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop pretending you have time to waste scrolling through content that doesn't move you forward. Act as if you're the best, because anything less is a personal insult to the gift of being alive. Honor the potential inside you. Refuse to die with your greatness still locked inside, unexpressed, unused. Approach life in a way that when you're gone, the world actually feels the absence. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need perfect circumstances or ideal conditions. You just need to decide. If you have been following up to this point, comment, "I start now." 3 words, that's it. And if this message hit you the way I intended, if it challenged you, if it woke something up inside you, like the video, because there are many who need to hear it in order to unscrew the timidity life fastened into their psyches. Subscribe if you're ready to keep going deeper, because this is just the beginning of what we're building here. Before you leave, pick any one of the 2 videos that pops up on your screen. One of them holds a secret even your role models have been running away from. See you in the next one.